Hey, Alexandra, I wanted to just give you make a quick video for you about the exercise 10. Uh, Partly because I think when we were talking in class, I said something confusing. I'm not positive I did this, but I'm remembering that we were at your desk, which is why I don't like looking at people's screens on their laptops. Sometimes I'm not, seeing the same thing as you are at that moment. But I think I was confused as to why you had um, a bunch of extra stuff in the envelope system we were looking at, and of course you weren't. That these are the components we put in, and this is your envelope itself. So if I confused you, sorry about that. Hopefully you figured that out. If not, we should talk about it. But the point is, your envelope approach is fine. And I think you did a good job. Let me close this on the actual assignment. You've shown me that you have a basic idea what to do, and you have these clear graphics. But then I'm like, well, why are we having an overhang in Miami but not in New York? Could kind of understand that, but I thought then I looked back at your actual model, and I saw that you had done a lot of simulations, which I like seeing. I don't have the results for most of them because you did include them, which is understandable because you were just trying to show me something specific for the assignment. But so I spent a little bit of time looking at your model, and I thought I would just tell you what I found, and maybe I'm not saying you need to change anything. This is late in the game, but I just wanted to talk about it a bit. So here's your basic, and you said with basic without shading device. I kind of think that actually the shading device, well, actually, okay, without shading device is accurate here. You have 50 site EUI, and we can see. I like showing the energy flows graph because it's easier to tell what's using the energy. And then you upgraded your envelope and got a considerable improvement. And we know it was, considerable because we can look. I like to look at January because it's for if I'm trying to improve my envelope, that's where I'm going to be losing a lot of heat. And we were at 3,300. These aren't going to change probably because we're not changing the windows. So if I just look at this green, I'm at like let's say 3,400 here, and then I go to we're only at 1,800. So drastic improvement in the envelope. I actually think that the shading the awning is in this model because I ran a simulation here and got the same results with the awning on, but whatever, it doesn't matter. The point I want to make is that if we're trying to improve our envelope at this point, what should we do? Well, we already did a pretty good job on the opaque portion, the insulated portion of the wall. But we see here the opposite of what we want in terms of our windows, because in the summer, when we know we're going to be cooling, and actually let's look at what's our actual, we've got some cooling, so we know that we're cooling in the summer, and our windows are gaining a lot of heat because we're above the black line, right? So we're gaining up here, we're losing down here, we're not losing anything from the windows, and we're all gaining. And so one thing we could do then would be to try to shade those windows more so that we're optimizing the amount of sun coming in. I think you've already played with that a little bit. So what I did was went back and looked at the solar study. And compare the different. Well, I looked at your awning that you had used, perhaps, and well, actually, if we just turn them both off, it's very we know that here we are in summer, and we are not getting any shade at noon in the summer. If we add your oops, wrong one. If we add your overhang. Yeah, we're fully shaded in June, even though at the solstice we still are. But if we get into August, this is in New York. We know it's pretty hot. Um, we've got a lot of sun coming in here in August. That's sun we don't want to have directly probably going through that window. And so if we switch to a different, like this second overhang, we see that we get a lot more period of the year where we're not, we're September, that's probably going to be a little bit of overheating. But the advantage here too is that then we're in the winter solstice, and we have most of the glass is open. Now, I would tweak that even further. I would try to get it to where I have the right, and there are apps for this. There's all sorts of ways you can do it. But the point being, we want the sun in the winter. Let's go down to this side. Um, and we don't want it in the summer. So again, that could have been much, much better optimized. But then a thing I've been trying to get across to you, and by the way, so one thing I did, I should, is I took out one of these windows from one of the iterations in a minute, so ignore that for right now. Um, but if I go back, so my point is that I added then this awning for to try to change, to try to get rid of some of this heat gain in the summer. And then I also, and if you want to go back and really understand it, you should do this in separate steps. But I also added an overhang over these windows because you're going to be getting a lot, I guarantee you, if we go back and look at, I won't do it, but if you go back and look at the solar study, we're going to be getting a lot of heat gain through there in the summer when we don't want it. So so I did a run adding this big overhang over those windows. I know that's not exactly what you're looking for there, but I'm just making a point. And I added this overhang here and got a pretty good reduction in my energy use. But also, just if you look at we did what we wanted. We got rid of lots of that heat gain in the summer. And then through the windows, and then I thought, okay, well, oh, actually, and that's with the first awning. That's with your awning, and then I did another one with the second awning. Got a little bit better, and that's why I went with that combination. But then I thought, okay, now unfortunately though, if I go back to one of these, we're losing some of the gain, and I know I can get a lot more gain from these windows in the south. So what I did next was I went and optimized the glazing. I don't really optimize it, I just changed it. And let's look what I did. We look at your windows on the south. I just picked these windows with much more solar heat gain coefficient, which means so that's 76% of the heat that's in the sun that's hitting the glass is getting through the glass. And then we have a pretty good U value and really pretty good visible light. So this is kind of like a pretty super window. And by adding that in on the south side, I was able to increase the amount of sun I was getting in the winter quite a bit. I also got a lot more in the in back on the summer. So maybe I would go back and tweak this overhang some more because this glass is letting more sun in just generally. Um, let's see what I did. Oops, no wait. Oh yeah, this is with the first overhang. This is with the second overhang. Um, So the point being that I mess with an overhang to try to get a better amount of heat gain or a lower amount in the summer through my windows, and then I tried to get more in the winter, both through optimizing the glazing, and then I could change the overhangs. Um, then I tried just taking out this window back here. Um, it had somewhat of an effect, but not really enough to make it a big deal. So I think it's okay to leave that if you wanted to, but you cannot leave it uncovered. If you go back and see, you'll have a really huge difference, and you'll definitely overheat. If you were to look at this with your glare study, it'll be very glary in there, I guarantee you. Then I tried improving because I was thinking, okay, what can I do now? I'd still like to get above 10% uh, more energy efficient than the baseline. So I added some insulation in the walls. I did a little bit of better, and then I added some mass in the building, which would help in terms of storing the energy that we were collecting in the winter. And you can see that bumping up in the winter if you look through this. Um, this still isn't, I could keep playing with it, but let's just look back to the beginning of what I was doing here. If we go back to your original, um, we've made a drastic change to the shape of this chart and the shape in a good way. Um, Well, and you did a lot yourself. You really improved the amount of green we had if the range was the same. So you did a lot on your opaque envelope. You still had a lot of this was the opposite shape we wanted for the windows because we're getting a lot of gain in the summer, but not a lot in the winter. And so by the end, I had flipped that around. Um, anyway, so that's the process here. I think that you're doing well on it, but I thought I would kind of give you a little bit of input. And let me know if you have any questions here at the very end as I'll see you on Thursday. Okay, bye.